Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Crude Shots with Kapil. Today we are going to make a change. We are not going to talk about something purely topical, but at the same time we are going to talk about something which is of prime importance, which is perhaps the most critical thing all of us need to care about, which is more important than the conversation around sustainability, more important than the conversation around climate control, more important than the conversation around wars and conflicts, more important than the conversation around hunger and poverty and all of the other social and other evils that we talk about. And the problem I'm talking about is overpopulation. We as humanity have done our best to ensure our survival. At the same time, we are working towards ensuring our best to ensure we don't survive anymore. And the problem that I see in all of this is overpopulation. I mean, pure and simply put, the number of human beings walking this earth right now. We are currently standing at 7.8 billion. And by all estimates, by all studies, by everything that you would look at, we are already unsustainable. I watched the COP26 summit with great interest when it happened 5 months back. And I've been looking at all the conversations and everything, every NGO, every player in this market, everybody in terms of what they are doing. And I see them talking very passionately about climate control. I see them talking very passionately about sustainability. I mean, Sustainability Development Goal, SDGs, is part of every corporate right now. However, where did these problems really start from? The problem started from the fact that we are the most largely populated large mammals on this planet Earth right now at 7.8 billion. Most studies that have been done say that the ability of Earth to carry human beings ends at nearly 3.7 to 4 billion people. We are already nearly 2x, actually, perhaps, slightly more than 2x of that number. And that's a huge problem. And we've been doubling at a rate faster than anybody else. Around the year 1800, we were just around a billion. And then we turned into 2 billion people, and then we turned into 4 billion people. 2 billion people, that doubling took around 127 years. The next doubling took around 50 years. And the next doubling is happening in the next 45 to 50 years once again. And that is where there is a huge problem. If we go around with that rate, or let me not even talk about if we continue to increase population, if we don't do something really significant to ensure that we come back in what I call as the sustainability limits of our population overall, we're screwed. So, what are the causes of population and what is the real impact of it is what I wanted to talk about today. So, let's look at a few different things. Every time you hear about a flood coming in and destroying homes, I want you to think about why did people live in those low-lying areas which actually used to belong to the sea. Every time you hear about a landslide or an avalanche or something else happening, I want you to think about why did people go to that mountain to live which actually was inhabitable and what all did they have to cut to reach there. Every time you hear about a forest fire, I want you to think about why is it that people went to that forest and why is it that the forest started to deplete at the rate where it is right now. Every time you start to look at amount of greenery that is present or that is increasing or decreasing or whatever in the world, I want you to look at one key factor. Is that greenery part of our agricultural land or is that greenery part of our forest land? And the reality is we've been decreasing forest land like crazy. Even though we've been increasing agricultural land in a lot of areas and making those changes. Our prime focus as humanity has become increasing the average age of humans, coming up with medical facilities that will help people live longer. I have a base fundamental challenge with that. I don't mind medicine or the medical industry progressing. I don't mind them coming up with cures for various diseases and all. But this obsession, and I call it an obsession, this obsession with increasing the human age, I personally don't agree with that. We've been doing so much work in ensuring there is higher fertility. in ensuring that we are able to provide tools and capabilities, IVFs and other operations, and surrogacy and other capabilities for people that can't bear children. But where are our real efforts to help decrease the population, help decrease the birth rate? Where is our lookout for ensuring sustainability of number of people versus talking about sustainability in everything else? The problem is not the amount of plastic that we throw. I mean, of course, that is the problem. But the problem is not just the amount of plastic that we throw. The problem is the number of people throwing it. The problem is not the fishing that we do, but the problem is number of people needing that food. The problem is not, anything else. The problem is the number of people doing it. The total volume is not a question. It is a question of people's habits as well. I'm not taking that away. But at the same time, it is a huge question of number of people doing it. So, what are the various causes of overpopulation as we look at it? One, the decline in the death rate that has happened due to all the medical progress and everything. Number two, agricultural advancements. Number three, better medical facilities which helps get better cures for everything. Number four, and what I find very interesting, and a lot of you would find it as fascinating, is child labor. In a lot of countries, in a lot of places, a new child, a kid is looked as an additional hand for labor. And that really becomes one of the key reasons for marginalized population to actually, procreate more. Ideally, if you would think of it, as a metro person, or as an urban person, or as an educated person, or as a middle class or an upper class person, you would say, if you are poor, you should have lesser kids because you will have lesser mouths to feed. But the reality is, every kid is looked upon as a resource, as an add-on, as another hand to earn more money. And that's where the problem really becomes. The next factor you need to look at is the fertility. The technological advancements that have happened in fertility. So these are the advancements that I talked about. The problems: number one, lack of family planning. Number two, poor contraceptive usage. And when you really start digging down, when you really start to look at it, this becomes the reason for depletion of all of the natural resources that we have, degradation of environment, putting across all sorts of waste and other challenges that you see right now. And of course, I see this as the prime reason for all the conflicts, all the wars, and all these border and other issues that you see. Ideally, human population was meant to consolidate in a small place and then have a lot of free space around, and then consolidate in another place and have a lot of free space around, and this would have ensured that there are none of such issues that would arise. Human beings are not supposed to go down and claim land from sea, or claim land from the mountains, or claim land from the forests, and really keep on multiplying and really keep on destroying. I mean, this is going to lead us into an extremely bad state. So I have been telling for a very long time, I'm against this conversation of sustainability. Well, here is the real problem. I'm not necessarily against the conversation about sustainability. I'm against the conversation about sustainability that does not talk about overpopulation, that does not talk about the fact that we need to restrict the rate at which we multiply. And that is where we will be able to achieve real sustainability. That is where we will be able to assure better health, better well-being, better living standards, and a much better lifestyle for everyone around. So that's what we need to look at. And that is why I said, while this is not necessarily a topical issue right now, but it is the most important issue that everybody needs to worry about, everybody needs to care about. As somebody who looks at himself as a mental health activist now, I mean, with Soul Wellness that I started a few months back, by the way, that application is going to be launched very soon. I think there is a huge problem that we need to resolve in terms of looking at overpopulation, in terms of looking at our multiplication, and really put some curbs around that. With that, we come to an end of this particular episode of Truth Shots with Kapil. Like, subscribe, keep the comments flowing. Let's have a chat and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.